Hello everyone, it's me, JG, the author of Blizzard, and welcome to episode 6 of the BlizzardHailstorm Audiobook. If you'd like to follow along, there's a link to the book in the description. All that being said, let's get started. Act 5, Skull Post. The Skull Post? Esther asked as she stared intently at the layer below and inhaled its foul odor. Rumor had it that after you and the rest of Team Blizzard brought down Magnopus' crime empire, his remaining bounty hunters who were not found by the police or gun are assembled and found a new place to indulge in their wickedness. That place is called the Skull Post, SBO explained. Team Chaotix and I have been trying to find this place since the dragon fell, but we never would have imagined it would be right under our noses. Guess that's why you're a lackluster detectives then. Rouge teased. SBO rolled her eyes. Do you think Magnopus is down here? Esther asked nervously. I don't know, SBO replied. His creepy shades are present, so that suggested. Esther began to shake. She could not tell if it was nervousness or anger. Rouge noticed and placed a hand on Esther's shoulder. Hey, kitty cat, she said. You literally face off against the world-eating dragon. This silly snow leopard is nothing. Esther smiled, but she was not comforted by these words. She did not go face-to-face with Tracton. Carol did. She was here now along with Rex, but they were not, and she had no way of communicating with them. Also, if you get super stressed or anything, SBO said, try closing your eyes and taking deep breaths. It helps me. And don't you have a connection with that kid soon or whatever? Ruth said. Can she help you? Maybe, Esther said, but I haven't seen her since Tracton was out. Talk to her anyway if it calms you down, as Theo said. I did not know if any of this would actually help, but it was encouraging to know her new friends were looking after her. I appreciate it, Esther said, but we need a plan if we're going to sneak into there and find out what's going on. Now, who said we were doing that? Rouge asked. I did, smiled Esther with a newfound confidence. I am the leader, after all. Rouge smiled. I know, I was just testing you, kitty cat. My bet, Esther said as she pointed to the stage surrounded by the green skull, is that Magnopus isn't over there, perhaps planning a speech. How do you know? SBO asked. Look, all the shades are concentrated in that area, almost like they are guarding something. Esther noted. Clever, Rouge admitted. So, Esther continued, we have to sneak behind the stage and capture him while nobody's looking. How will we do that? Rouge asked. I know SBO can turn invisible, but I don't think his smoke bombs will last us long enough to get to the backstage. Esther held up her gauntlet. Then she pressed the button and she vanished. Rouge stood there with her mouth and eyes wide open. After a few seconds, she appeared behind Rouge and tapped her shoulder. Rouge turned around. You never told me you can turn invisible. Never asked, Esther replied calmly. I knew this from my studies. Well, can't you also turn others invisible? Esther asked. Yeah, Esther replied. I just had to be touching them, and their atoms turned to glass along with mine. That's great, Rouge said. Esther and I can speak behind the stage and get Magnopus, while SBO can stay and overlook us from the marketplace and make sure nothing goes wrong. They all agreed to that, and Esther and SBO exchanged numbers for communication, and she grabbed Rouge's hand and turned invisible. Then they began to sneak into the city. The girls from a side interest in SBO from the roofs. Remember, Esther warned, stay clear of those purple shades. The only one that can damage them is Kara. We don't have him here. The others nodded. The floor was made up of beige stones with heaps of trash growing alongside grass skirting all over it. The glowing green river there also split into many paths that illuminated the surrounding area. Many buildings also surrounded the three at all times. Most of them were tall and lengthy. Some were single-story and wide, but nearly all of them were dark blue in color and had wood roofs. Some of them were small and had open windows so hunters could see what was being sold there. Sometimes there were animals, jewelry, and even illegal slaves. The streets were filled with hunters of all races, and at every other shop a fight was breaking out. Such was the home of crime. There was a great crowd traveling the same direction as Esther and Rouge that was so big that eventually they found themselves stuck in the crowd like cars in traffic. Esther was thankful to be invisible, but the noise stressed her out greatly, so she could not help bring her free hand to her ears to block some of it. She had hated loud noises ever since she was a kitten. Rouge saw that Esther was struggling, so she said, Hey, calm down, kitty. Remember what SBO told you about breathing? Esther did as Rouge recommended, and she closed her eyes and took 3 deep breaths. Suddenly, time seemed to stop, and she felt a glimpse of peace in that hellscape. No sound was heard, and she felt almost the way she did when she talked to Kitsuniko. Wait, Kitsuniko! Kitsuniko? Esther asked. I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, please help me get to Magnopus. Esther opened her eyes and saw a clear opening through the crowd. Esther and Rouge slipped by, and they arrived at the large area in front of the stage. Once they made it through, Esther smiled. At the greenlit stage surrounded by the toxic river, a large crowd of bounty hunters was gathered, awaiting someone who was revealed by their cries. Magnopus! It took all of Esther's strength not to lose her temper then and there. Despite the peace she had felt just a moment earlier, her head grew hot and her hands started to shake. Rouge noticed as they began to push their way towards the front to get around to the back. Rouge then said to SBO over the gauntlet, We made it in front of the stage. Where are you? I've secured a position in a nearby building overlooking it, SBO replied. Great, Esther said. We're making our way towards the back of the stage now. But as Esther said this, all of the city's lights went out, and the only thing illuminating it being the hideous green liquid. Then Esther heard footsteps thundering from behind the stage. We're too late, Esther whispered, defeated, barely able to hear her own voice over the roars of the crowd. There were large speakers on the side of the stage, and they began blasting the voice of some hideous announcer. Introducing, he said, the king of the world, the bone crusher, the shade leader, the richest man alive, our father, Magnopus! The crowd roared, some even fainted when Magnopus stepped on the stage. Esther was still trembling. She forgot the wickedness in his eyes, the soullessness in his smile, and the sacrilegious gold that adorned him. This was the leper who left her to die in a helicopter. This was the leper who threw her into a purple beam. This was the leper who tricked her into working for him, only to burn down her whole village. Esther was going to leap on the stage and kill Magnopus then and there, and she would have if Rouge had not seen the wildness in her eyes and grabbed her shoulders. Hey, she said, we're still good, girl. We'll just get him after this speech. Esther barely hovered over her own raging thoughts. Why could she not get him now? Why wait to bring justice? He had killed so many, so now she must kill him. My dear children, Magnopus began. Every syllable he spoke was a stab to Esther's nerves. Now you're here to fall in the footsteps of the Firewolf, he continued, and join my new army, the Forgotten Kingdom, the crowd roared. I would be glad to have all my old bounty hunters together again, but some of my children have been separated from me, either by government entities deeming them dangerous, or by their own traitorous folly. The crowd laughed. Esther growled and began to breathe heavily. Her tired head could not take this slander anymore. Her mind became like the body of an animal. She got everything about breathing, permission, Rouge, Team Blizzard, Jolene, and even Kitsuniko. Only one thought was coursing through her veins. Revenge. Rouge tried to pull her back, but she could not stop the dragon-like wildness in her eyes. Hey, kitty cat, what are you doing? Rouge whispered as Esther foolishly tried to break free from her arms. We have to stick to the plan. No! This guy's been tormenting me long enough. It ends now. Esther then pushed Rouge away and let go of her hand, turning her visible. Some members of the crowd recognized her and gasped, causing Magnopus to end his speech and stare into the crowd. Hey, what's going on there? Before anyone could say anything, Rouge managed to fly out of there and called Esther on her headpiece. Hey, ninja boy, she said, small problem. Esther's gone rogue.
Where is she?
I don't know. My bet is that she's gonna jump on the stage and start attacking Magnopus.
Understood. We have to be ready for when that happens. Meet me at the top of the building on the right corner of the stage.
Got it, Rouge said as she spread her wings. See you there. Meanwhile, Esther, still invisible, used the distraction she caused to sneak to the side of the stage while Magnopus was occupied with rumors of a spy infiltrating the skull post. She recalled when she was sneaking with Carol to take the Malaxium off the neck of Magnopus. I'm gonna do what I couldn't do then, Esther thought, put an end to this miserable creature. Turn back. What? Esther said. A strange yet beautiful voice that she recognized infiltrated her mind. But that was not enough to break her rage. That's nothing, Esther thought. Just my fear trying to take the better of me. But maybe I should... No. It's time to end this. My pupil's death will be avenged. Then she leapt onto the stage and turned visible. Several crowd members gasped, but the majority were still occupied with a dark shadow of rumor spy. Then Esther yelled, Magnopus! In her head, she found it sounded like the war cry of a brave hero fighting a wicked tyrant, but it came out like a little girl who is mad at her father. A wave of signs splashed over the crowd. Magnopus turned to face his mistress for the first time since the helicopter crash. Ah, Magnopus said, my daughter. Esther was trembling. She did not know she would be this scared with him when they met again. Before, she was thinking of all the pain she put him through, but now she stood still like a deer in headlights. Then her rage snapped her to her senses. I am not your daughter, she said. I have no father. Is that so? Magnopus asked. Your father loved you dearly, I've heard. What? Esther asked. How do you... I'm not falling for your tricks again. So why have you come back? Magnopus asked. Your miserable little friends betray you, so you came crawling back to Papa in your own life? Too bad! I have no room for traitorous dumbasses in my grand army. I have plans greater than you know. Despite Esther's great hatred of Magnopus in her past life, she felt a stab of his words, like she had disappointed her parent. She hated feeling that way and covered up immediately. I came here to put an end to you, Esther replied. Then she slammed her gauntlets together and they glowed green. She then leapt toward Magnopus, but he kicked her as hard as he could in the jaw. She went flying to his right and began to taste the blood in her mouth as she flopped into fish on the ground and tried her best to get up. But the pain in her hard mouth, the anger, stress, and huge fear in her soul made it impossible. She began to have a mental breakdown, the rapid breaths and stabbing pain in her heart adding to her struggle to get up. Magnopus said mockingly, weak as always. Maybe I should put out her misery? Then he pulled out and loaded his gun. I don't know. I had more plans. Magnopus smiled and laughed as he thought for a moment. Most of the hunters laughed, but this was too cruel for some as they watched the young woman curl into a ball, sobbing uncontrollably and losing control for breathing. In the end, he aimed his gun at Esther. Oh well, Magnopus said, as that fox boy once said, you did this to yourself. But before he could shoot, a ninja star cut right through his gun, and Esther and Rouge landed at the right from the right side of the stage. Esther yelled triumphantly, we're here to rescue you. The presence of Esther's friends eased her heart, so she was able to get to her feet once more. Well, Magnopus said, so 2 of my hunters finally returned to me. You guys want to join my army? Like Esther said, we're here to put an end to you. Locking you up and throwing away the key, Rouge replied. Well, in that case, Magnopus said as he backed away towards the exit of the stage, I suppose you should take my leave. We'll meet again, my dear daughter. We will meet again. Then he sped off. No, SBO shouted. We can't let him get away. He began to run towards them, but suddenly, many bounty hunters jumped onto the stage and started to fight the three. Esther threw ninja stars loudly, stabbing anyone who tried to get in his way, while Rouge was throwing out her pink heart-shaped bombs, not allowing any hunter to get close. Any that did make it past knew what it felt like to get screw-kicked in the face by an angry lady in heels. Esther activated her gauntlets and pushed the ones nearest her away, causing them to slam into other bounty hunters, giving her window space, for which she used to run towards the back of the stage. But suddenly, she felt a great feeling of warmth coming from above, almost reminding her of Kitsuniko. Kitsuniko, and almost made her uncomfortable to think of her after her act of uncontrollable rage. Despite those thoughts, Esther looked up and saw a blast of fire coming from the hands of a female wolf. She floated down from the ceiling, somehow able to sustain her fall with the flames. Esther gasped. The only other people she knew with elemental powers like that were Blaze and Carol. Could this person be connected with Kitsuniko too? Then what was she doing in a place like this? Was she abusing her powers like Carol once did? The wolf had wild gray fur and blazing orange eyes. Her clothing consisted of a hoodie and a bounty hunter's outfit with a white chest piece. Her mind seemed to be off in another place. Hello, Esther, she sighed. It's been a while. Esther almost fell over with shock when she recognized her voice. Vivian? Esther shouted, not knowing whether to fear, anger, or joy. You're alive? How did you get these powers? Vivian smiled, but it seemed to be a mask for a true emotion, revealed by her weary eyes. All will be revealed soon. Esther saw her hands clenched into fists generating fire. Or maybe not. Esther saw this and tried to dodge out of the way, but she would have been burned if Rouge now tackled her from behind, sparing her from the fireball and causing it to land in the walls of the sewer. Okay, we gotta get out of here, she sighed. Hey, SBO! He nodded affirmingly and threw a smoke bomb, causing himself to disappear. He'll follow me wherever, so let's take advantage of that, Rouge said. Then she grabbed Esther's arms, and without much of an effort, she carried her away across the rooftops into the southeast corner of the skull post, leaving all the bounty hunters behind. The few who were still armed pulled out their guns and tried to shoot at them, but Rouge followed an unpredictable pattern that rendered their arms useless. Eventually, they found themselves out of sight of the bounty hunters, and she set Esther down near a bunch of cages and piled up on the back wall within a thin alleyway of buildings. Esther stumbled as she landed and plopped on the ground, and Rouge leaned on the wall, both panting. Then SBO appeared next to Rouge with a stern gaze. The heck was that? SBO growled. Rouge stared at Esther with a similar frame of mind. Esther remembered what she had just done and the consequence of it, ruining their whole plan. She was too tired to defend or explain herself, so she just set her hands on her face and began to cry.